So let's go to triggers today. So what is a trigger? We have we can write some database triggers, right? In PLSQL, we can write some database triggers. In Salesforce also, the trigger works in the same way. What is a trigger? So it is an Apex code. Trigger is an Apex code that gets executed automatically. So trigger is an Apex code that will get executed automatically whenever an associated DML operation is performed. So trigger is an Apex code that will get executed automatically whenever an associated DML operation is performed. So that gets executed automatically. So you don't need to specifically execute it by clicking on execute button or any other way. This trigger will execute automatically. So whenever the associated DML operation is performed. You know the DML operations, right? What are they? Insert, update, upset, delete, undelete. So we have a couple of DML operations. So whenever the DML operation is performed, the trigger will invoke automatically. The trigger will invoke automatically. So whatever code you written inside the trigger, that code will execute automatically. So trigger is an Apex code that gets executed automatically. So whenever an associated DML operation is performed. Okay. A trigger is used to perform either validations or automations. Whenever an associated DML operation is performed. So trigger is used to perform either validations or automations. So whenever an associated DML operation is performed. So we have validation rules on our user interface, and also we have workflows, approvals, process builder. He has user interface components for automation purpose. So we have already validations and automations, but triggers also does the same. So what is the difference between triggers and validation rules? So what is the difference between triggers, validations and workflows? Because triggers also does the same work, right? So what I'm saying here, triggers also use it to perform the same operations. Triggers also does the validations or no automations. But we have already validations, workflows, approvals, right? Process builder in our user interface. So what is the main difference between triggers, validations and workflows? Right? So trigger can work with all DML operations. I told you, so whenever an associated DML operation is performed, the trigger will execute. That means it can work with all DML operations, including deletions mainly, including deletions and delete, including delete and undelete. But if you go to validations, validations only invoke whenever you insert or whenever you update the record. Validations will work with only inserts and updates. So whenever record is saving into the database, that means whenever you are inserting a record or whenever you are updating a record, validations will only work with the inserts and updates, not deletions and deletions, no, not with any other operation. So I want to perform something. So whenever I'm deleting one of the record, so you can't do that by using a validation rule. No, validations won't work with the deletions or even undeletions. The difference, main difference. So in the trigger, we can work with other object references also. Work with cross object references. That means we can write code inside the trigger. So whatever object you want to involve, you can get that object inside the trigger. But validation rules works with only one object. Mainly works with only one object. If you got some relationship, maybe you'll get the parent, but most of the times it will work with only one object. But if you go to trigger, you can get the related object or you can get other object inside the trigger. But validations, the main object, we have to go to the object and create the validation on that object, just mainly with one object. Even if you have parent, sometimes you can refer parent also, but mainly with the one object. And our logic, our requirement is very huge and it cannot be done by validations or workflow, then we have to go with the trigger. Or it can be done by using a simple validation, then you can go ahead and create a validation rule or a workflow instead of a trigger. Okay, so these are the main differences between the trigger, validation, and workflow. So what is a trigger? So trigger is also Apex code. We have to write some Apex code inside the trigger. When that gets executed, suppose if I write trigger on insert, so whenever you are inserting a record, the trigger will fire. Suppose I'm writing a trigger on a delete event, then whenever you are performing deletions, then the trigger will get executed automatically. Right? Trigger will get executed automatically whenever the associated DML operation is performed. Okay, so we have trigger context variables. We have trigger context variables. What does the trigger context variables? What does these trigger context variables? So whenever a trigger is invoked, it has a group of supportive variables which hold runtime information during the current trigger execution, and these variables are known as trigger context variables. So whenever trigger is invoked, so whenever trigger is calling, whenever trigger is executing, so it has some supportive variables. It has some predefined. It has some predefined supportive variables. That supportive variables will hold the runtime information of the current trigger. Those variables are known as trigger context variables. Right? Suppose I'm writing a trigger on insert event. Right? So trigger context variable will hold what event I am performing and what data is going to affect. So like this, whatever operation you are doing, that current trigger execution runtime information will be stored in trigger context variables. Right? So we have group of trigger context variables. We will see them. So what are the DML operations we have? So let me divide them into three types. The trigger context variables. First one is DML statements. Second one is trigger execution. Third one is something like data. Just for simplifying them. So how many DML statements we have? Insert, update, delete, undelete, and then what are the trigger execution? We have is before and is after. So we are calling them as before trigger or after trigger. That means before you are inserting a record, you want to execute the trigger, or after you insert the record, you want to execute the trigger. Before inserting of the record or after inserting of the record. Is before, is after. So just put is here. So is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete. Okay, trigger execution should be before you are inserting a record or after you are inserting a record, or before you are updating a record, after you are updating a record. So before you are deleting or after you are deleting, something like that. And data. So we have old, new, old map, and a new map. These are the data variables which will hold the currently executing object records. Right? Old map, and a new map. So these are the trigger context variables. Okay, so what are they? Is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is before, is after, old, new, old map, new map. Old, new, old map, new map. Okay, these are the trigger context variables. So if you keep here is, what type of that variable it is? What type of the variable it is? So these variables are Boolean variables. Is insert a Boolean. So suppose if you see is before the variable name, most of the times that would be the Boolean variable only. Is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is before, is after. They are the Boolean variables. And then old and the new are the list type. Old are old and the new are the list types. Old map and the new map are the map types. So old map, new map will contain the records. Old is the list type, of course new also. Old map and new map are the maps. Okay, what does the old? So old contains what records? Old contains all the data exist before the DML operation is performed. That means old data will be stored in old list. Old means, is the list type. Just the data before DML will be stored in old. I'll put in other way so you can easily remember this. Old contains data before DML operation. Old contains the data before DML operation. Okay, so new, you can guess what new contains. New contains data after DML operation or during DML operation. Data during or after DML operation. So old contains data before DML and the new contains data after DML. Old data will contains in old and the new data after DML or during DML that will be taken into new. These are the list types. So they did not put here old list, new list. They declared the variable itself as old, new. These are the standard ones. These are the list type. I can name the variable with any name, right? So they have named it. They have named them this way. So old, new. These are the list types. So what does the old map and new map? Old map and new map also. Old map will contains data before DML, and the new map will contains data during or after DML. The same. So old map and new map also the same. So you can give the same definition for old map and new map also. Old map will contains the data before DML. New map will contains the data during or after DML. But how the map will be stored? Key value pair, right? ID and the old record. Old map contains the data in this way, ID and the old record. New map will contains the data id comma new record. So map always will take the values as key and value pair. In case of our objects, our records, key would be the id of the record and value would be the complete record. So it will also take in the same format. So old map contains the that record id and then old record, and the new map contains that new record id comma new record. So it will take the values in this format, key and value pair. Okay, so now how to write a trigger. Trigger, trigger name on object, and then you have to give the event here, before event or after event. Before event or after event. For example, I want to write one trigger on account, trigger trg1 on account. So I wanted to write whenever a new record has been inserted. So before insert, and then I can write some code here. So this code will automatically gets executed, invoked, before I'm inserting any account record. This code will be automatically executed whenever I'm inserting an account record. Before inserting an account record, this code will be automatically invoked. Suppose I want to write it before delete. So whenever you are trying to delete an account, this code will be executed at that time. Maybe let's go with the after one. So I want to perform this code after you update any account record. That means if you go to any existing account and then you update any data, so after updation is done, then this code will get executed after update. You know the meaning, right? Before and after. So before the record is saving into the database, so after the record has been saved into the database. Before, after. So after you update any account record, then this logic will get executed, not before, after. So I have it out here and keep writing before, after, before, after. So we have before and after, right? Events. I mean, this is a trigger context variable, so this is the event. So before, after. So when to use before and when to use after, and then when should I take trigger dot new, trigger dot old, and then old map and new map. When should I take them? Suppose I am performing insert operation. So while performing insert operation, do you think do we have any, old data? I'm inserting a new record. Do you think am I having any old data? No, right? So whenever you are inserting new data. So whenever you are performing insert operation, you have to use either new or new map. Either new or new map only, because there won't be any existing data. So whatever records you are inserting, that the records will automatically taken into new or new map. There is no concept of old whenever you are inserting the record. That's right. and then that inserting data will be taken automatically into new map. Suppose I am performing delete operation. Suppose I am performing delete operation. That means we are deleting an existing record. Do you think we have any new data, or we are deleting old data? There won't be any new data, right? We are deleting the existing old data, deleting. So in that case, we have to use old or old map only, because we are deleting existing data. So whatever data you are deleting, whatever records you are deleting, that records will be automatically taken into either old or old map. Based on the requirement, you can use old or old map. So what is the difference between old or old map? So both will take old records only. But if you go to map, sorry, if you go to map, it will take the values as key or key and value pair. If you go to the normal list, just will take the records in the list format, right? So while you are performing insert operation, that records will be taken into new map only. So while you are writing any trigger and deletions, we have to use old or old map only strictly. So if you are using new while you are deleting, you will get an error. So if you are using old while you are inserting, you will get an error. You have to follow this. So suppose I'm performing update operation. So should I take old or new? Tell me now. Should I take old map, or else new map? What should I take while updating? We can take both, like old map or new map. So we can use both, right? So while updating, you can take both. Suppose I have a field called something like this, and then the value is 10 here. Okay, so I need to update this, right? So this is update operation. So I'm updating the field value to 20. Okay, so actually the value is there here 10. I'm updating it to 20. So old map contains 10, and new map will contains 20. So before you are performing DML operation, I may update, we have old data, right? So that the old data will be taken into old map. So we have to update it, right, to new values. Then that new data will be taken into new map, right? So while you're updating, that is also based on the requirement. If you want to work with the previous values before DML, then you have to use the old. Or if you want to work with the new values after updating, then that time we have to take a new map. Okay, so I'm repeating once again whole concept. So what is a trigger? Same like we have written lot of apex classes, right? Same like we can write apex code inside the trigger. So trigger is also apex code that gets executed automatically whenever an associated DML operation is performed. Trigger also does the same way how the validations workflows will work, but there are some differences. Trigger can work with all DML operations, but not the validations. Validations or workflows will work with only inserts or updates only. And then we can refer any object inside the trigger because we are writing code, right? But in validations or workflows, we can work with only one object. If you want to write the custom code, if your requirement is very huge, if you want to write some complex code, then we have to go to trigger. You can't write any code in the validations or workflow. So while executing trigger, the runtime information will be stored in some variables. That variables we are calling as trigger context variables. That means you are doing DML operation on what record. Either you want to perform it before that record is inserting or after that record is inserting. Like this, for storing all this information, we have some trigger context variables, right? We have some trigger context variables. They are is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete. So is before, is after, and then old, new, old map, and a new map. Right? These are the trigger context variables. We'll store some information, while trigger is running during this trigger execution. Right? So old contains data before DML, new contains data after DML. Old contains data before DML, new contains data after DML. So while you are performing the insert operation, you have to use either new or new map only. So while you are performing delete operation, you have to use either old or old map only. So if you are performing update operation, you can use both of them. While updating, you will have both the new and old data, right? I mean old and new data. Before you are performing update operation, we have old data. So once we have done the update, then we have new data. So you can use both of them while you're updating. Okay. So now let's go with a small example on this. So we have trigger context variables. So we have trigger context variables. So what are the trigger context variables we have? The basic ones. So here we have variable and the value. So what are the variables we have? Trigger context variables is before, is after. Let's start with is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is before, is after, world, new, world map, new map, right? Okay, so how we can write the trigger, trigger name, and which object, and then I want to go with before insert, and then inside here you have to perform some logic. That code will get automatically execute. So whenever you are inserting account record, before the account record has been inserting. Is it gone? Yeah. Okay. So now, what trigger context variables will hold data in this case? So, is it before or after? Is it insert or update? So, we are doing an insert DML operation, right? So, is insert? Yes. So, we are performing it as an update, false. Delete, false. Undelete, false. So you are doing a DML operation, insert operation. So is insert, yes, is insert will have true value. So it should work whenever you are inserting account record. So is insert will have true value, remaining ones false. So is it before or after? So I want to perform this before we are inserting an account record. So is before will have some value here, not is after. Is after is false. So is before true. So while inserting, do you need to take old or new values? So while inserting, the inserting data will be stored automatically in new or new map only. While inserting, you have to take new or new map only. That inserting records will be taken into new or new map only. So in this case, world and the old map will not have any data. So in this way, the trigger context variables will have data at the back. Suppose let's go with another operation. So now let's go to another operation. So I want to go with after delete. I want to perform the logic after you are deleting the account record. In this case, what trigger context variables will hold data? So it is on deletions, right? So is delete will have true value. Not is insert, is update, is undelete. Is it before or after? So it is an after call. So is before won't get any value. So is after will have the checkbox checked. So while deleting, we should take old or new. I mean, or old map or new map. So whatever records we are deleting, that records will be taken automatically into old or old map. So you can use either old or old map based on the requirement. What logic you are writing, based on that, now you can take old or old map. But new and a new map won't contain any data. This is how the trigger context variables will hold data at the back. Now let's go to another operation. After update. I want to perform this logic after you are updating the account record. Is it insert? No. Update? Yes. No delete, no undelete, because this is update DML operation, right? And then is it before or after? So it is an after event. So after will have the checkbox checked boolean value true, not before. So while updating, should I take old or new, or old map or new map? What should I take while you are updating? That is up to you. We can use the old, new, old map, new map, because before updating the old data will be taken into old or old map. You have to update it to new values, right? Of course, while you are updating the record, if you have any new data, so you are updating the that record, right? So that new will, I mean, given data will be taken into new or new map. So for this after update, the trigger context variables will hold data in this way. I hope you understand. So now I have a doubt. So when I should go with the after or when should I go with before? Exactly when should I use before or when should I use after? Yeah. So before will work mainly with a single object, and then if you want to perform any validations or field updates on the single object, you can perform before triggers. You can write before triggers. Before triggers will be involved mainly with a single object, and then if you want to perform any validations or field updates on the same object, then we have to go to before triggers. Right? Before triggers will work mainly with the same object, and then before triggers are used to perform validations or field updates before it is saving it to the database. So when we should perform the validations? Exactly when we should perform the validations? Before the record is saving into the database or after the record has been saved into the database? So once the record has been saved into the database, how we can do validations? Anyway, you have to stop them, before you are saving data into the database, right? So before the data is saving into the database, if you want to perform any validations or if you want to update the same object records, field updates. If you want to update any one of the field, then you have to go with the before triggers. So after triggers, you can involve multiple objects, but before trigger also you can involve multiple objects. But if you want to perform validations or field updates, we can perform them on single object only. So after triggers, we can involve multiple objects, and if you want to perform any automations, then you have to go with the after triggers. That means if you want to do some other operations in other objects, let's suppose whenever I update account record, after updating the account records, the corresponding contact records also should get update. So after updating the account, after updating the account, right, the contact phone number also should get update. After updating the account record, phone number, after updating account phone number, the contact phone number also should get update. That time I have to go to after. I'm saying after updating the account, right? After updating the account phone number, so contact phone number also should get updated. Like this, if you want to involve more than one object, and then if you want to perform some automation, right? If you want to perform some other operations in other objects, right? Then we have to go with the after triggers, right? So we are performing the validations or field updates before the record is saving into the database. So they are suitable for before triggers. If you want to perform validations or field updates, if you want to do some logic updates or something, I mean, if you want to do some logic which will update or which will do some operations in the other objects, then you have to go with the after triggers. That is nothing but the automations, like doing some operations in other objects. We can involve multiple objects in the after trigger. So you have to decide. So your requirement is suitable for before trigger or after trigger, right? So I'm repeating whole concept one more time. So what is a trigger? So trigger is an apex code that will get executed automatically whenever an associated DML operation is performed. You don't need to execute it, you don't need to execute it automatically, so it will get executed automatically. You don't need to execute it, it will get executed automatically whenever an associated DML operation is performed. It is easy to perform either validations or automations. We have workflows and validation rules on our user interface. What are the main differences between trigger and workflows validations? These are the main differences. So whenever trigger is executing, the trigger, whatever trigger is executing, that trigger runtime information will be stored in some variables. That variables we are calling as trigger context variables. They are is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is before, is after, old, new, old map, and new map. So whenever you are inserting a record, so if you are writing any trigger or insert operation, then this insert checkbox will be checked. So corresponding checkbox will be checked on which operation you are running the trigger. And then old or new are the list types. Old map and new map are the maps. So old contains the data before DML, and the new contains the data after DML or during the DML operation. Same way old map and new map also does, but the format will be different. Old map will contains the data in the key and value pair like ID and the record, and ID and the new record for the new map. So this is syntax of writing a trigger. We will see that in a bit. And then whenever you are inserting a record, so if you want to perform any or if you want to write any trigger on insert DML operation, then we have to take only new or new map, because we are inserting new data, right? How we can take old or old map? The newly inserting data will be taken automatically into new or new map only. So I'm deleting, that means we are deleting existing data. Are you deleting old data? I mean existing data I'm deleting. So that old data will be taken into old or old map automatically. So while you're deleting, you have to use old or old map only. So while updating, I can take both of them, either new or old. How it will be possible? Because while updating, you do have both. Old and new, right? You do have both old and new, right? So before you are updating, the data will be taken into old or old map, and after updating, you do have new values you are entering, right? You do have new values. You are entering new values. Then that new values will be taken into new or new map based on the requirement. You can take either old or new in case of update operation. So here I'm giving before update, after update, before delete, after delete, something like this. So when should I go with the before, or when should I go with the after? Before ones are much suitable for performing validations or field updates on the single object, and before the record is saving into the database, right? Before you are doing the operation. Or no, you can go to after triggers if you want to involve multiple objects, and if you want to perform some automation with some other objects. If you want to involve some other objects, and if you want to update other object records, then we have to go with the after event, after trigger. Okay, so how many DML operations we have? Insert, delete, insert, update, delete, and delete, right? So here let me add before delete. And then here, one second. Here let me add before insert, before update, before delete, right? So before insert, before update, before delete. The same way after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. So we don't have before undelete event, we have only after undelete. So these are the total seven events in triggers, right? So before insert, before update, before delete, after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. We don't have before undelete event. These are the seven total trigger events, right? So before insert. So what should I take here? Before insert, I have to take either new or new map only. While performing before update, you can take either old or new. So before delete, you can take only the old or old map only, because while deleting, the deleting data will be taken automatically into old or old map only. The old data, right? Not the new one. You are deleting the old data, of course. So again, after insert, what should I take while inserting a new or new map only? So after update, for update, what should I take? That is up to you. Either old or new, both we can take based on the requirement on what data you are working. So after a delete, what should I take? For delete operation, I should take old or old map only. So after undelete, we can take a new or new map. After undelete, we have to take new or new map only. Okay, this is about the trigger events, and then what variable you have to take, either new or old, or new map or old map. Okay, so now let's go to. So Apex triggers enable you to perform custom actions before or after events to records in Salesforce. Before or after events, right? Such as insertions, updates, or deletions. Just like database system support triggers, Apex provides trigger support for managing records. Typically, you use triggers to perform operations based on specific conditions to modify related records or restrict certain operations from happening. You can use triggers to do anything you can do in Apex, including executing SOQL, DML, or calling custom Apex methods. I mean, what logic you should write inside the trigger. You can write, all the code what you are writing in the Apex. So use triggers to perform tasks that cannot be done by using the point and click tools in Salesforce user interface. Trigger can invoke automatically. You don't need to execute it manually. No point and click. Directly it will gets executed whenever the associated DML operation is performed. For example, if validating a field value or updating field on the account, sorry, on a record, use validation rule and workflow rules instead. Triggers can be defined for top-level standard objects such as account or contact, custom objects, and some standard child objects. Triggers are active by default when created. Salesforce automatically fires active triggers when the specified database event occur. Okay, so this is the trigger events. Just we have gone through with these events: before insert, before update, before delete, after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete, before triggers, after triggers, before events, after events. So types of triggers, how many types of triggers we have? Before triggers, after triggers. So before triggers used for validations or field updates before they are saving into the database. Right? Before triggers to perform validations or field updates before they are saving into the database. So for after triggers for what? After triggers are used to access field values that are set by the system, such as record ID or last modified date, and to effect changes in other records. So after triggers used to get the record ID, because once the record is saved, then only we'll get the record ID, right? Before trigger, we won't get record ID because it is not at saving into the database. Just before saving into the database, we are firing the trigger. Before saving, before insert, we are firing. So that means that has not been inserted into the database just before insert. That time we won't get ID. So in after triggers only we'll get the record ID because after insert. Then after you insert the record, then only you will get the record ID, right? So if you want to get the record ID or last modified date in case of updates, that time we have to go with the after triggers. And if you want to perform the changes in the other records, that means other object records. If you want to perform the changes in the other object records, then you have to go to the after triggers. We have some trigger context variables, right? What are they? We have some trigger context variables. What are they? So these are the ones. Okay. Is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is before, is after. And then we have is executing also. If trigger is executing, then this checkbox will be checked. So is executing will be checked while trigger apex code is executing that time, right? The checkbox will be checked. And then we have new map, old map. New will have the new version of objects records. Here we have a new version of object records into a map format. This is the list format. Same way, world will contains the world version of S object records. So this is a list, and then world map is a map. It also contains the world version of object records. right? And then we have one more trigger context variable, size. So size will give you number of records are invoking from the trigger. So how many records are processing by using the trigger. So it will give you that size. So these are the trigger context variables. We have already gone through with these trigger context variables. That's it. So these examples we have to start. We have to start practicing the triggers. Just this is overall trigger concept, right? So trigger will get execute automatically whenever the associated DML operation is performed. These are the differences between trigger and validations workflow. And then these are the trigger context variables. So other two trigger context variables are there. What are they? Is executing and then size. Is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete, is before, is after, old map, new map. And then what old contains what new, what old map and new map. And then while inserting you have to take new or new map, while deleting old or old map, but while updating, so you can take both of them. Inserting new or new map only, deleting old or old map only, but updating you can take both of them. So before triggers used to perform validations or field updates on the single object, and then after triggers if you want to perform any operation in some other objects. If you want to do some automation on multiple objects, if you want to involve multiple objects, that time we have to go with the after trigger. And then if you want to get the record ID, definitely have to go to after insert. So after the record has been inserting into the database only, we'll get the ID, right? So that time you have to go to after trigger. So if you want to get the record ID, so in case of you are updating any record, if you want to get the last modified date or time, that time also you have to go with the after triggers. So these are the trigger events. So before insert, before update, before delete. The same way after insert, after update, after delete. And then we have undelete operation for after only. Then we have to go with after and delete, not the before and delete. There is no before and delete, we have only after and delete. So we have these 7 trigger events available. You can see here also the same. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards we have to start working on triggers. We have to practice the before and after triggers. So we'll start with the before triggers first, and once we complete the before triggers, then we'll go with the after events. Okay, thank you everyone.